Douglas Bickford, Truth TV, Portland, Oregon. I'm sitting down here at Red Square Coffee Shop, and I have a gentleman here. What's your name, sir?
John Hawkwood. Howdy.
John Hawkwood?
Yep.
I'm Douglas Bickford, Truth TV program, community television, channel 21. Anyway, I have a couple questions for this gentleman about the Navy training expansion by the U.S. government, Department of Defense, and I'm going to ask him just a couple questions. Have you heard about that, sir?
I've heard a little bit about it, yeah.
Okay, from what you know about it, what do you know about it?
That the Navy wants to expand the areas in which it can do various kinds of testing. Now, I'm not sure whether they're talking about weapons testing or overflights or submarines. I wasn't clear about that. Do you know anything more about that?
Okay, what?
They're talking about all sorts of naval units? I don't know.
Okay, what I do know about it is that there's a 1,000-page document that they've released, that I'm talking about the Department of Defense, and they have a meeting about it in Tillamook on the 11th of March 2009. They gave the public, like, no notice came from the mainstream media. And so have you heard about it on the mainstream media?
No, just a little bit. I believe I've heard some things on KBOO, and I've heard, I'm trying to think of whether there was a mainstream. I don't know that I have. I mostly listen to the radio for that kind of thing, so I wouldn't.
So you haven't really heard about it then in the mainstream media?
Not at all. They should put that stuff off at any rate. This being the beginning of a new administration, and they really should examine all those kind of programs, including they're the deep sea sonar there are all kinds of difficulties with that, and it's really not necessary at this point to be pushing in that direction.
Okay, to get off the subject here, the deep sea sonar, what are you talking about?
Well, there are basically problems with, communications, underseas communications that affect, things like whale migration, they haven't really looked into that enough, and they haven't cut back. They should be cutting back on the Navy as a whole anyway at this point. It's hard to see why they would want to expand at this point.
Their training program, right?
Well, their training program, even they should be, things should be pulled back a little bit. It's a lot, in fact, but that's an understatement.
Okay, so one of the things I know for sure that they're going to be testing is depleted uranium. Do you know what that is, sir?
I do, and the depleted uranium is residual. It's used for munitions. I think it's for, basically armor-piercing shells.
Okay, do you know that it's radioactive when it explodes?
Yeah, well, it's radioactive. It's radioactive. I mean, that's one of the problems that's of the battlefield problems that occurred in Iraq, particularly in the first Iraq War, where there was a lot of depleted uranium munitions used. I think it's linked to the problems that all the vets of that war have had.
Gulf War syndrome, maybe?
Exactly.
Okay, so here the government is, again, okay, they're going to use 4 states for testing, and I'm talking about the Navy here, the Department of Defense: California, Oregon, Washington, and Idaho, parts of Idaho. And what they're going to be testing is one of the chemicals is depleted uranium. Now, they make armor, just like John said here, they make armor-piercing rounds out of it, and it is radioactive. Now, you got to wonder why our government would use depleted uranium to make bullets out of, right? I don't care if it pierces through armor or whatever.
Yeah, it's a very, it's a form that's actually obsolete anyway. It was created during the whole build-up with the Soviet Union when they were just, trying to build more and more heavily armored tanks, and it's really completely unnecessary. There's no use for that in the modern world, really. Those rounds, and there probably was no use for them then either, even when they did have them. And it was just like a super round that could knock out any tank, but what they had already could knock out the Russian tank.
Okay.
And nobody else has anything like that, so they should just get rid of it all.
So does it make any sense to you that our government would use depleted uranium, period?
Well, absolutely not. You know, in fact, it should be banned. I mean, in reality, it's because of the residual effects of it. Once again, it's got long half-life, and the stuff got mixed in with all the dust in Iraq. I don't know what the Navy does with. I heard a Navy guy on one of the radio shows saying that there was only one weapon system that used that, and but the question is why they just don't get rid of it all. You know.
Okay, here's another question for you. Since the Department of Defense decides that they're going to use Oregon, and since my program's in Portland, Oregon, I'll just reference Oregon. They're going to use their nuclear submarines. All the submarines are powered by nuclear power, right? Depleted uranium is a nuclear waste byproduct. Okay, that's one of the reasons they're putting it in ammo. Okay, so that means nuclear subs are making tons and tons of depleted uranium waste. That's not the only waste product of depleted uranium. But so they're going to have nuclear submarines, more of them off the coast of Oregon, with all more nuclear waste because of the nuclear power. How does that make you feel as an Oregonian?
Well, I mean, we've got a multiplicity of problems with nuclear stuff. The main problem, I mean, first of all, we've stopped nuclear power in the country as a whole for civilian uses, and everybody knows that the problem is you can't get rid of the waste, and that ultimately, they've come up with scheme after scheme. I think the last one.
What, are you saying what scheme?
Well, the last one I think was the mountain in Nevada, which was being disputed by
Winnemucca or
I've forgotten what.
Yucca Mountain.
Yeah, and basically there is no way to get rid of the stuff. It's going to be around for tens of thousands of years.
What's the half-life of depleted uranium?
That I don't know.
Okay, it's like 1,000,000 years.
Right, and so
half-life.
So I mean, the ultimate problem is that this civilization really has trouble handling it, and what comes after us in 1,000 years or 10,000 years, no one will even know what it is. You'll just have people dropping over from the effects of radioactive things.
Gulf War syndrome, maybe?
Well, it'll be. It could be even worse than that because I mean, you've got several sources. You've got Hanford, the stuff coming down the river from Hanford. You've got things like, they just had almost an accident with the two submarines in the Atlantic,
yes.
The British and French nuclear submarines. So really, the fact is, it's all unknown, and the fact is, it all should be put. You can't put the genie back in the bottle, but they should really
tell us about it, maybe.
They're not going to tell. I mean, they really should curtail as much nuclear activity as possible. Really, I mean, that's the main thrust of it.
Okay. So
basically expand. Now, on the other hand, I don't, expanding their programs off the Oregon coast. I think they should start to, you can't get too idealistic about it because the Navy's going to be there. They're going to do these things. But I think the thing to do would be to go through our senators and try to get a little feedback loop going about these kinds of activities and get some feedback into the Obama administration because at this point, as far as going to a meeting and protesting, the Navy's going to go on and do just what they're going to do anyway.
Yes.
I mean, they might not even tell anybody about it. I think the only thing it would affect, fishermen ships. I don't know whether they clear the area. I don't know enough details about what they intended to do, but I do know they did want to expand their area of practice, and you wonder why, really.
Yeah. Okay.